Let's get right to our debate. Facing off, President of D.C. Young Democrats Marcus Goodwin and political consultant and former campaign worker for Mitt Romney's presidential campaign, Shermichael Singleton. Guys, let's start with the first topic that they want us to talk about here. The DHS is moving $155 million from FEMA to ICE. Shermichael.
This is why, Eric, comprehensive immigration reform needs to occur. I think from the administration's perspective, they recognize there's an immigration problem, and I'm going to presume, not having spoken with anyone within the White House, that they're redirecting these funds to address that problem, which goes back to my original premise. I think it's time for Congress, Democrats and Republicans, to come together to solve this problem.
What do you say, Marcus?
Certainly it's time for some bipartisanship around the issue of immigration, but for the administration to posture in this manner, moving $155 million out of what we think is addressing disaster areas and the climate crisis toward ICE is simply showing that they care more about keeping people out of the country than taking care of the country we do have. Because this issue is coming to our doorstep. There's national, international demonstrations around how Americans feel about addressing the climate crisis, and taking money away from FEMA isn't going to solve the issue.
Well, Eric, let's address one thing first. Immigration is not a right guaranteed by the Constitution of the United States of America. Immigration is a choice, and we, the people of this country, decide who we want to come in, Eric, when it's in our best interest. We don't just let anyone from all over the world come in. I can't go to Germany tomorrow and say, well, I'm a German citizen. I can't go to Mexico and say, well, I'm a Mexican citizen today. We have rules in this country, and they exist for a reason. Regarding the whole climate change issue, AOC couldn't even get a Democrat in the Senate to vote for her bill, Eric.
Well, let's let Marcus weigh in on that. Yeah. Are you concerned that there won't be money for emergency management?
Yeah, and we're now seeing that.
Has it ever happened that way?
Well, the first gaffe of Trump's presidency, in my opinion, is how he treated Puerto Rico. Those are direct dollars that we would see these $155 million going toward that now we don't have in the budget. So we're conflating some of the issues of how we're treating the budget and what our immigration policy is.
Marcus, I'm old enough to remember Katrina.
Yeah.
$60 billion. That definitely was not in the budget, but it went out to help the people of Louisiana.
And what's the largest takeaway in terms of the televised coverage of Katrina? It's Kanye West saying George Bush doesn't care about black people in that response. We need to make sure that FEMA is as well funded as possible when circumstances like these come up, although we don't know what's going to happen.
Shermichael, is there a concern that FEMA might not have funding?
What's good policy?
I mean, look, FEMA, I served at HUD briefly as the Deputy Chief of Staff under Secretary Carson. And FEMA typically, and this just isn't a President Trump issue, this goes back to Obama, this goes back to George W. Bush, and even Bill Clinton. FEMA typically has been one of the very few agencies that's usually underfunded. Usually when natural disasters occur, Congress, the House and the Senate decides to pass supplemental budgeting, to your point of Louisiana, New Orleans, to make up for that budget shortfall.
Guys, I don't want to cut you off because I really want to get to this. VMAs, Tay-Tay, watch.
At the end of this video, there was a petition, and there still is a petition, for the Equality Act, which basically just says we all deserve equal rights under the law. And I want to thank everyone who signed that petition, because it now has 500,000 signatures, which is 5 times the amount that it would need to warrant a response from the White House.
What say you, Shermichael?
I mean, look, I'm all for teaching people and activism, right? But let's be honest, Eric, if you really want to get America's youth involved in the political process, we need to have civics return back to education, not doing it at the VMAs.
Marcus.
This is a great way to publicize an issue. People are obsessed with not only celebrity, but now engaging in social media. She's created a movement and brought this to the forefront of people's awareness. It's passed through the House. We need the Senate to take up the Equality Act and show what reflects American values, and that's treating all people equally.
We shall leave it right there. Marcus, Shermichael, thank you very much, both of you guys.
Thank you.